Hello everyone. I am in the fourth book of Moses called Numbers, and I'm going to try my very best to keep this down to maybe 30 minutes. When I'm reading, I tend to pause to read myself, but that's taking up a lot of time for you. So I'm going to just read the first chapter, like I promised. And then I'll go into the subheadings of the continuing chapters, all right? Okay, so here goes. Okay, let's do this. The first census of Israel. What comes to my mind is some of the family history I've done where I had to rely on the U.S. Census records, and you might be, well, may or may not be surprised at this, but today is June 9th, 2024, and it was it was about 2 or 3 years ago when the 1950 U.S. Census was finally released by the government. So when this talks about a census, this is the first census for Israel. And they're taking this census after, actually after escaping Egypt, creating their own rules and rituals and so forth, and now they decided to do a census and find out who's really here, who was really there. In a lot of this census, I'll give you an example of the first one. The Lord tells Moses to tell everyone to take a census of all the congregation of the children of Israel by their families, by their fathers' houses, according to the number of names, every male individually from 20 years old and above, all who are able to go to war in Israel. Okay, that's a key statement right there. So this census went through Reuben, Simeon, Gad, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Ephraim, Manasseh, children of Benjamin, children of Dan, children of Asher, children of Naphtali, and it was all saying the same thing, the same requirements, numbered according to the number of names from 20 years old and above, all who are able to go to war. So that's what comes to my mind is, well, they've been through some pretty bad stuff in Egypt. Egypt finally got rid of them. They're going up into Canaan, and it's like war is a second language, or a second language of planning and so forth. Anyway, I was amazed to see the census in 20 years old, older, able to go to war. Okay, then the second chapter, the tribes and leaders by armies. Talking about armies. The sons of Aaron, the Levites, serve in the tabernacle. And I've been through that before. The Levites were specifically set aside to take care of the tabernacle, and they were not included in the census. They were assigned to the tabernacle. However, census of the Levites was commanded eventually. Lord spoke to Moses, saying, the number of children of Levi by their father's house, by their families, you shall number every male from a month old and above. So with the Levites, the census was from the children from a month old or older, or month old and above. There was a reason for that. And the total, 600, oh geez, there was like 12,000 children that they counted in the Levite. Okay, Levites dedicated instead of the firstborn. Duties of the sons of Kohath, more duties. Duties of the sons of Gershon. Duties of the sons of Merari. Census of the Levites. Ceremonial unclean persons isolated. In another attempt of reading this book, I actually went into that to understand ceremonial unclean persons are isolated. So that has to do with those that are lepers. And it also talks about even if everyone who has a discharge or whoever becomes defiled by a corpse, defiled by a corpse, finally dawned on me what that meant. That means the corpse of a leper would still hold the disease. And if someone touched the corpse, they could get the disease. And the children of Israel did put them outside the camp as the Lord spoke to Moses, so the children of Israel did. Okay, the next chapter is confession and restitution concerning unfaithful wives. Read that a few times. That's worth reading. The law of the Nazarite, the priestly blessing, offerings of the leaders. Going through this quickly, but really you should read each chapter. There's not enough time. Arrangement of the lamps, cleansing and dedication of the Levites, the second Passover, the cloud and the fire. I'll go into that real quick. The cloud and the fire, the cloud and the fire was above the tabernacle. And the way I see that is that it indicates a true power of the tabernacle. God is in that cloud and in that fire. It is God that is in above the tabernacle. And that's worth reading. 2 silver trumpets, departure from Sinai. The people began to complain. I've read this a few times. God was not happy with the fact that the people were complaining. They weren't very thankful for what they were given. The 70 elders, the Lord sends the people quail. I like quail. Sends them quail. Dissension of Aaron and Miriam. That's when the two of them spoke against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married. So they said, has the Lord indeed spoken only through Moses? And the Lord got very upset with Miriam and Aaron, and he said, suddenly the Lord said to Moses, Aaron and Miriam, Come out, you three, to the tabernacle of meeting. So the three came out. Then the Lord came down in the pillar of the cloud and stood in the door of the tabernacle, called Aaron and Miriam, and they both went forward. Then, capital, he said, hear now my words. If there is a prophet among you, I, the Lord, make myself known to him in a vision. I speak to him in a dream, meaning the Lord speaking to Moses. Not so with my servant Moses. He is faithful in all my house. I speak with him face to face, even plainly, and not in the dark sayings. And he sees the form of the Lord. Why then were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? So that was interesting. Okay, then the Lord spoke to Moses and required him to send spies to Canaan. He wanted to know the truth about Canaan, what's going on in Canaan. Canaan is where the giants of men were found. And it says right here, the land through which we have gone as spies is a land that devours its inhabitants, and all the people whom we saw in it are men of great stature. There we saw the giants, which were the descendants of Anak, came from the giants. And then they say, and we were like grasshoppers in our own sight, meaning they were little bitty things crawling all over the place compared to the giants that they came upon. Israel refuses to enter Canaan. Israel doesn't want to go into Canaan. Moses intercedes for the people. Death sentence on the rebels. Worth a read. A futile invasion attempt. Laws of grain and drink offerings. Laws concerning unintentional sin. Makes you ponder, doesn't it? I'll give you just a hint here. If you sin unintentionally and do not observe all these commandments which the Lord has spoken to Moses, then it will be, if it is unintentionally committed without the knowledge of the congregation, that the whole congregation shall offer one young bull as a burnt offering, as a sweet aroma to the Lord. And it goes on. And then there's one paragraph here which is kind of strange to me. Law concerning presumptuous sin. Presumptuous. Well, what are you really saying here? Well, I presume I sinned. Well, you either did or you didn't. So, presumptuous sin. But the person who does anything presumptuously, whether he is native born or a stranger, that one brings reproach on the Lord, and he shall be cut off from among his people, because he has despised the word of the Lord and has broken his commandment. That person shall be completely cut off. His guilt shall be upon him. Okay, but I'm still curious about the word presumptuous. Penalty for violating the Sabbath. I had a comment one time reading this. In those days, the Sabbath, what we didn't have Monday through Friday. Not in those days. This is BC. This is BC aging. There wasn't a week Monday through. So what violating the Sabbath. And then tassels on garments. This was interesting. Certain colors of tassels were allowed to be put on the garments as long as, so it would so you may remember and do my commandments and be holy for your God. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am the Lord your God. And the tassel is, and you shall have the tassel that you may look upon it and remember all the commandments of the Lord and do them, and that you may not follow the harlotry to which your own heart and your own eyes are inclined. That made me go back to, well, that made me go back to the fall. In those days, Adam and Eve, we weren't inclined to do that kind of stuff. The buzzword is inclined. So the fall has been critical. The fall impacted everything. Cellular structure, all the way up to astronomy, the heavens, the earth. It impacted animals and the flood, the land, the plants, everything. It affected everything. So God changed the rules, as has been quoted. He changed the rules at that moment, and everything went bad. So inclined, so that's probably about right then. In those days, they were inclined to follow the harlotry. Rebellion against Moses and Aaron. More complaints of the people. The Hebrews were not happy. They've been removed from Egypt. They've been guided through the lands, through the Red Sea. They've made it to their safety. And I guess they weren't satisfied. Complaints of the people. On the next day, all the congregation of the children of Israel complained against Moses and Aaron, saying, "You have killed the people of the Lord." Now it happened, when the congregation had gathered against Moses and Aaron, that they turned toward the tabernacle of meeting, and suddenly the cloud covered it, and glory of the Lord appeared. And, I was talking earlier, that cloud, that fire, that's an indication of prominence, power. I'm in charge. This is God. Anyway, that goes on a few paragraphs. The budding of Aaron's rod. Duties of priests and Levites. Offerings for support of the priests. Tithes for support of the Levites. The tithe of the Levites. Laws of purification. Moses' error at Kadesh. Passage through Edom is refused. And Edom is, later on through the scriptures, Edom is really the Edomites. It's the Edomites. Death of Aaron. Canaanites defeated at Hormah. So there was a war. The Canaanites were defeated. The bronze serpent. From Mount Hor, Hor, to Moab. King Sihon is defeated. There's a war. King Og is defeated. There's a war. Balak sends for Balaam sends for Balaam. Balaam is well, I'd have to read this. Balaam, the donkey, and the angel. Balaam's first prophecy, a prophecy. Who was this person? Balaam's second prophecy. Balaam's third prophecy. Balaam's fourth prophecy, and then Israel's harlotry in Moab. The second census of Israel. Take a census of all the congregation of the children of Israel from 20 years old and above for their fathers' houses, all who are able to go to war. So a second census, again talking about those that are able to go to war. Building the team. Inheritance laws. These inheritance laws probably are what our population, but I'm sure that these laws were picked up centuries and centuries ago. Joshua, the next leader of Israel. Daily offerings, Sabbath offerings, monthly offerings, offerings at Passover, offerings at the Feast of Weeks, offerings at the Feast of Trumpets, offerings on the Day of Atonement, offerings at the Feast of the Tabernacles, the law concerning vows. That's an interesting read. That you should just read that for sure. The law concerning vows. Vengeance on the Midianites. Return from the war. Then they brought the captives, the booty, and the spoil to Moses, to Eleazar the priest, and to the congregation of the children of Israel, to the camp. And they then there's a division of the plunder, how they split it out. The tribes setting east of the Jordan. East of the Jordan, Jerusalem is on the west of the Jordan. Israel's journey from Egypt is reviewed. That is very interesting. This goes into, well, it's all interesting. This actually, I've read this a couple of times now, but it actually maps out, if you will, all of the different places that the Hebrew, or the children of Israel, moved when they were exiled, when they left Egypt. And I made a note to myself, I'd really like to get a map out and put this out, put it on a map. Okay, instructions for the conquest of Canaan. The appointed boundaries of Canaan. The leaders appointed to divide the land. Cities for the Levites. Cities of refuge. And marriage of female heirs. That's Numbers. And I'm at 24 minutes. Geez, I could have read more. Anyway, Numbers. What do you think about Numbers? After Genesis, building the world, the first communities, Exodus, taken to Egypt and treated badly and exiled. Leviticus. Leviticus is more rituals, numbers, than a census of everything going on in Canaan. Census is very important. They needed to know who's going to be capable of going to war, and they did have a couple of wars, well, 2 or 3 wars. So war is that's in the vocabulary. Marriage of female heirs, that's worth a read too. Okay, anyway, the next one is going to be the 5th book of Moses, called Deuteronomy. And that I'll try to just still go a half an hour, but you never know. I get involved with the reading, and I start putting things together in my mind, and then I have a big question, 2 or 3 questions. I hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope that you're being enthused to read your Bible, even if you do exactly what I'm doing right now. Read the first chapter, read the subheadings, scan a paragraph, pick up something that's interesting to you and read it, and start putting this story together in the Old Testament. I'm anxious to get into Deuteronomy. So God bless you, and thank you so much. Please subscribe. I am praying for you, and you and your family, absolutely. I will see you soon. God bless. Bye.